What's up, y'all? Good morning. Good morning and happy Friday, y'all. Man, it is a wonderful Friday, a blessed Friday. Hold on one second, you guys. Get this sent out. I pray that my lighting is okay. Hold on one second. Let's see something. Chill. Alrighty. Happy Friday, you guys. Apostle T here. Hold on one second. I need to be sure that I am not that my signal is okay. Can you guys see me? I know that there is a glare. Hold on one second, you guys. All right. Okay, there we go. There we go. How y'all doing today? Happy Friday. My face is a little bit shiny. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to those of you guys that are tuning in. I pray that last night's live stream blessed you. Listen, if you did not catch last night's live stream about your help being on the way, then it's definitely a broadcast worth going back to revisit. For those of you guys that are tuning in this morning, first of all, happy blessed Friday, man. Every day that we wake up is a day that we should all be rejoicing. Our declaration is going to be simple on this morning. Obey God. Obey God. You know, we're in a season where God has been showing me time and time again, even just in such a short amount of time, how imperative it is to move when God says move. All right. I'm going to say that again. He's been showing me time and time again, like how important it is to move when he says move. A lot of times, what we don't take into account, what we don't take into account of is there are moments within everybody's process, right? There are moments when within everybody's process where God tells you to do a thing, you have certain expectations of what you feel is going to happen. And when it does not happen, you know, we get into a mindset of feeling like blessings to you, Jocelyn. We get into a mindset of like feeling like, man, God, you told me to do X, Y, and Z and nothing happened. Anybody ever been there? Of God just simply saying, telling you to do, giving you a set of instructions, you do this set of instructions or nothing happens, or on the flip side, you start going through warfare. It seems as though your obedience has led you straight into like a storm. It seems like your obedience has led you straight into, you know, like the enemy's territory. And so, like, you know, this happens so many times during our process. And so it gets to a point, right, where God starts telling you to do something and trauma starts speaking louder than your faith, right? Louder than your willingness to just submit to God and surrender. And so a lot of times what happens is we start hesitating when it revolves around doing what God wants us to do. And so this revelation actually came to me last night. I was kind of preparing to kind of shut down and wind down for the night. And I got an email, right? So you guys know I just moved to this new location. Today actually makes 1 week that I have actually been here in this new location. And I am loving the peace and quiet. I'm gonna just be real. I am loving the peace and quiet. I'm loving the fact that I have come on, stop. I'm loving the place. I'm loving the fact that I have a place to actually, have an office versus, having everything in one room, if that makes sense. I like being able to separate, workspace, ministry space from, like where I live, if that makes sense. And so I got an email from the old place on last night. It was a general email, right? Meaning it was sent to everyone, not just to me in particularly. And so in this email, you guys can see I have puppies. Those of you guys that are from the Haps days, the Periscope days, I have puppies. And so they sent an email. It was a very odd email. I've never seen this type of email or this type of thing at all in my entire 32 years of living. And so in the email, it's talking about like getting your dog's DNA. I know some of y'all are like, what you mean? Exactly. It was some type of email where they're like, all the pet owners need to bring your dog into the office and we need to get a DNA swap. And at this point, I didn't even write the rest of the email. I just went ahead and just said, you know what, God, I am going to go ahead and unsubscribe. Like, I don't want no more emails from them. I just felt like, wow. And so as I'm sitting there after reading that email, after unsubscribing, because I did, I'm real about that. I cut it off. Old season, you got to go. As I'm sitting there, after that happened, the Lord begins to talk to me. And what he told me was, he said, now you see how important like it was that you moved when you did. I'm going to say it again. After that happened, the Lord straight up told me, now you get to see why it was so important that you moved when you did. I pray that I am making sense. And so, there have been other moments, right, where God has just been dealing with me about how sometimes our breakthrough is time sensitive. Our breakthroughs are obedience sensitive. Our miracles, the miracle that you are believing God for, it is oftentimes very much so time sensitive. But what I mean by time sensitive is when God tells you to do something, do it. I know, like in my wilderness, it was a 3.5 year long process. And within this 3.5 years, there were so many moments of me obeying God, going through a test, me obeying God, coming up on the short end of the stick. It felt like a cycle that I could not, blessings to you, Visha. It felt like a cycle that I absolutely could not get out of, right? And so it got to points in my process where I started questioning, like, God, like, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe anybody ever felt like you have misheard God? Like you feel like you're walking with God, but you start going through so much stuff, as a means of you just simply obeying God, that you start like looking up like, am I even hearing you right, God? Did you really tell me to do this? Because if you told me to do X, Y, and Z, why every time I obey the devil attacks? Why every time, I obey, my finances get hit, my health get hit? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, this was me in my wilderness. And in that place, it's real easy to like slip over into a mindset of feeling like, well, I might as well not obey. It's real easy to start slipping over into rebellion, because at that point you start feeling like, it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. Maybe you've never been there. It straight up makes you feel like you are doing something wrong. Some of y'all are right there now where you're like, Apostle, I've been obeying God. I've been doing everything that God has told me to do up to now. And it just feels like the more I obey, the more warfare. The more I obey, the more things I'm having. Come on, the more my finances are being hit, the more my relationships are being tested, the more my health is being, come on, under siege. It's just, and for some people, it's several things happening all at once. And so you get into a place when, you get hit, so many times back to back to back to back to back, where you start questioning, like, should I even move? There was even a point in my wilderness apart from like thinking those thoughts, right? Where I started to like question, like, if my obedience was even paying off, because it felt like, okay, God, if I'm obeying and your word says, right, that, you honor our faith, that you're a rewarder of those that seek you, like, am I making sense? Am I making sense? Apart from that, I just lost my train of thought. Holy Spirit, bring it back. What was I saying? I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes that happens, but the devil is a liar. This must have been something that someone needed to hear. But apart from that, I started feeling like, am I even close? There we go. Thank you, Lord. Am I even close? Because God, if your word says this, why am I not seeing like the tangible evidence? Why am I not seeing the tangible evidence of like getting whatever it is that you've promised me? At the time for me back then, it was living arrangements. Why am I not being taken care of? Like if you say like obedience always yields a reward, where is my anybody ever felt like, God, where my reward at? Where my harvest at, God? I done everything you said do when you said do it. Where is my reward? Where is my harvest? This was me. And so it's like before that season ended, I went through a really traumatic like experience of losing my vehicle. And I had quit. At that point, like I had enough. I don't know if y'all have ever like been fed up. Like I was fed up at this point. Like that was like the last blow. I gave up for a few days. Like I just gave up. I had nothing left to give because I felt like, God, I have given you everything. I've obeyed and I've been nothing but attacked. I've been living off of the bare minimum. Like your girl was tired. And so I remember a few months after he physically shifted me like into the first apartment that I lived at. And this one particular night, I was having like a conversation with one of the older women that lived like a few doors down. And she talked a lot about God, talked a lot about Jesus. And this was maybe about a month and a half into like living in that new apartment. And so as we were talking, she was talking about like the manager, this new manager, the manager, that in so many words gave me the yes. She turned a no into a yes. God used her to give me the favor to even move into that first apartment complex because I had gotten denied originally. And so as she's talking, she's like, yeah, I don't like her. She started about a month ago. And at this moment of her talking about when this lady started, right? I'm going to where I'm about to bring this full circle. At this point of her talking about that, the Holy Spirit begins to go like ding, 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 ding. Like a month ago was when you moved in. A month ago was when you got the approval to like move in this place. I pray that I'm making sense. So in that moment, you know, it made so much sense that at a time when I had given up because I thought that my obedience was not going to get me over into the promised land, and at a time when I thought that like my obedience was only bringing warfare, like God was moving all along. And I say all of that to say, we really have no idea of how close we are to what God has for us. We can simply be one step away from what God has for us. You can simply be one step of obedience away from shifting over into what you've been waiting for, what you've been praying for, what you've been toiling for. And so a lot of times the understanding of why God has us move the way that he has us move, a lot of times, I pray that I'm making sense, but a lot of times it doesn't come until after we've obeyed God. I said what I said. Yeah. A lot of times, our understanding of the why, because a lot of times we do have questions concerning, like, God, why you want me to do X, Y, and Z? Because a lot of times when God tells us to move on something, I know for me at least, it don't be making sense sometimes. Anybody ever like had God tell you to do some things and you like, God, that don't make sense. You want me to sow that? You want me to move there? You want me to do X, Y, and Z? You want me to make this purchase? You want me to invest here? Why would I do that? Because a lot of times it straight up seems like God has you moving backwards. And if we can be real, if we can be real, if God were to ask us how we wanted to like operate and flow in something, we would have our own mindset, and it would be it will be the total exact opposite of what God has for us, of his way of moving. The understanding sometimes doesn't come until after you have done what God has told you to do. Now, true enough, in our processes, obedience oftentimes leads us right into being tested. It leads us right into having our faith stretched. It makes us feel all of those feelings like, God, listen, hello, Jocelyn. It makes us feel sometimes like, God, am I even hearing you right? Like, did you really tell me to do X, Y, and Z? Because if you told me to do X, Y, and Z, why am I not, seeing tangible evidence of a breakthrough, tangible evidence of a blessing? I pray that I'm making sense. And so today's declaration is move when God tells you to move. Because the truth of the matter is that you don't know what is on the other side of your obedience. I'm going to say it again. You don't know what is on the other side. I need somebody to just humble yourself and say that. I don't know what's on the other side of God telling me what to do. I don't know what's on the other side of this set of instructions. You don't. His vision surpasses ours. Am I making sense? His vision straight up surpasses ours. I'm going to say it one more time. His vision surpasses our vision. We don't know what's on the other side. And in fact, we don't even know how close we are to our lives being catapulted to the next level. And so, like in my wilderness, God, because I struggled in that area, I struggled with a lot of resentment. I struggled with a lot of frustration. I had so much discouragement and disappointment because I didn't understand, God, if I'm following you, if I'm obeying you, why am I going through hell and back? And so it got to a point where God started to tell me, listen, when I speak to you, act now, think never. I'm going to say it again. He started to tell me that whenever he would give me instructions, act now, think never. Because the thing about it is, if you sit on what God tells you to do, you're going to start talking yourself out of it. I don't care how holy you are. I don't care how religious you are. I don't care how long you've been walking with God. I'm going to say it again. Think about it. If you start thinking about what God has told you to do, you are going to talk yourself out of it. You're going to find yourself making a crazy amount of excuses not to do what God said do. You will put it off. Think about it, because some of us have done this. God tells you to do something that seems very insignificant. You feel like, you feel like, God, I can just put this off until X, Y, Z. And then you look up, a month has passed, 2 months has passed, 3, 4, 5, a whole year has passed, and you still have not done the very thing that God asked you to do, but yet you're still in the same position, praying that same prayer. Obedience is key. I'm going to say it again. Obedience is key. I need somebody to type that in. Obedience is key. I'm going to say it again. Obedience is key. And what happens when we put off, the things that God is telling us to do is we unconsciously slip over into like a place of disobedience. I'm going to say it again. What happens when you put off what God is telling you to do? Hear me now. What happens is you slip over into a place of disobedience. What happens when you slip over into a place of disobedience? You have now put yourself in the enemy's camp. What do I mean? He can legally attack you. And so when we're in disobedience because God has told us to do something and we've delayed it or we have not done it, right? The enemy can legally attack us. And in that point of the enemy legally attacking us, your prayers, anybody ever like prayed a prayer and you like, God, why my prayers ain't working? Right? Why you not responding, God? It's because you delayed, which delayed obedience is still disobedience. I'm going to say it again. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. I'm going to say it one more time for the one time because some of y'all don't want to hear this. Delayed obedience It's still disobedience. So if God is asking you to do something on today, whether it's something in your business, whether it is something in your finances, something with your health, whatever the case may be, if God is asking you to do something, hear me now, it behooves you to do it. Because when you're in the will of God, there's only so much that the enemy can do. When you're in obedience, there's only so much that the enemy can do. But when you're not in obedience, and sometimes we don't even be knowing that we're not in obedience. We don't even be knowing. We don't even realize that, man, I'm in disobedience. I'm kind of starting to rebel against God a little bit. But what happens in that point? We become free game. So what happens when we're in disobedience? The enemy starts attacking our mind. You do hinder the process when you're disobedient. You prolong it. You prolong it. I said what I said. You straight up prolong the process. Yes, you absolutely do. You prolong it. Absolutely. And so, these past few, and I'm going to say this too. Sometimes we be feeling like we understand why God is telling us to do certain things, and we don't be having no idea. We don't be having no idea. Sometimes we be feeling like, oh, I know why God is telling me to do X, Y, Z. It's because X, Y, Z is going to happen. And we literally have no idea. We don't be having listen, we would like to think, Jocelyn, that we be knowing, right, what's going to happen. But we don't be having no idea. It's happened to me even recently, right? Where God says do X, Y, Z, and I'm thinking a certain way or a certain thing is going to happen. And then it don't happen at all. Something else, and I find that, man, the instructions of God, it was actually tailored to get me to another place. Yep. You start to see, man, this was only done to get me to another place. Later, man, you better say that, Jocelyn. And then people have the audacity to get mad at God. People have the audacity to get mad at God because you place certain expectations. You tried to be God. You tried to figure out why God told you to do it. He ain't tell you why, but you tried to figure it out. You placed your own expectations on why he told you to do a particular thing. And now you sitting up there butthurt and mad because it didn't happen. And so that's why this used to happen to me. So I'm speaking from experience. So that is where the revelation began to come from. When God tells you to move, you act now. You never think. Think never. Think never. Think never. Because if you sit on what God has told you to do, you will think yourself right out of it. You sure will. There's a reason why God is telling you to do the things that he's telling you to do in this hour. There's a reason why God is stretching you the way that he has been stretching you in this hour. There is a reason why. Somebody just say, there's a reason. There's a reason why your life is played out the way that is played out. There's a reason. And just because you don't understand certain things that happen, this is for somebody. Just because you don't understand why God had you to do certain things in previous seasons doesn't mean that it is not going to at some point be connected to the new thing that God is doing in your life. Because I have found that to happen. God will tell me, and I'll use this for example. A few months ago, God told me to get a desktop computer. Give me a one. I promise y'all I'm going somewhere. A few months ago, God told me to get a desktop computer. I'm currently streaming from my desktop. It made no sense. I knew that my MacBook laptop was going to be on its last leg. I knew it, but it still works to this day. So my mindset was, oh, well, this may be for, just me and the graphic designer to Photoshop and stuff like that. Because at the time, his laptop was messed up. And so I have not, hear me now. I got maybe 6 months ago. It's almost been a year. I want to say it's been closer to a year that I've had this desktop. I rarely used it. Now it was set up in the old place, but it was something that I rarely used. Y'all got to catch this. I rarely used it. And so it got to a point like a few months ago where I was looking at this computer and I had the thought like, God, why did you even tell me to get this? Like it's sitting up on the desk collecting dust. Fast forward to the shift to YouTube. What I did not know is that I cannot live stream from my phone until I get to like 1,000 followers on YouTube. Can I flow? What I did not know, I just knew God is saying shift to YouTube. I didn't know that, man, I can't stream from my phone until, I actually get like, until I get 1,000 followers. But what I can do is stream on like a desktop. And so yesterday, as I was doing the first broadcast on YouTube, the Lord straight up told me, he said, it didn't make sense then, but now it does. He told me, he said, I know it didn't make sense a year ago when I told you to get this. You thought that you thought, right? You thought that this was just random. I even thought that it was my flesh. I thought that it was my flesh. And the Lord told me, I told you to get this particular desktop for a reason. It has a built-in camera. It has a built-in camera. Man, come on, Jocelyn. So you can sit up and think that you know why God is telling you to do a particular thing, but you have no idea. These paintings, can I keep going? I can keep going because some of y'all need to hear this. It's always a reason. Sometimes we don't find out the reason until after the fact, until we shift over into the next season, until we shift over, into another level, if that makes sense. These paintings behind me, I got them back in 2020. I had someone make them for me, right? At the time, it kind of made sense, but like it matched the old place, but it really didn't, right? How about when I got here, the new place, and I put them in the office? Not the paintings match the walls, the paintings match the carpet, the paintings match everything. And so I'm saying this to say God's vision surpasses ours. And because his vision surpasses ours, there are going to be some things that God asks you to do that you just not going to understand. You're going to sit up and you're going to think, man, is this my flesh? I'm going to say it again. Because his vision surpasses ours, it's not going to be possible. We are not going to be able to understand all of the details of why he's telling us to do certain things. I'm going to say it one more time because y'all not feeling me. Because God's vision surpasses ours, meaning it goes beyond our vision, there are going to be some things that God asks you to do that you are absolutely not going to understand. It's not going to make sense. Why? Because we don't have the same vision, right? Distance wise, we can't see as far into the future as God can. This is why it is important to move when God says move. He always brings things full circle. He always brings things full circle. I just need somebody to hear me. He always brings things full circle. Whatever God has told you to do, go do it. Because you do not know how just a simple thing can impact your destiny, how a simple thing, a simple act of obedience can impact whether or not you can even gain entry into your next level. And I'm going to just say this, you cannot get to the next level apart from obedience. You cannot receive a miracle apart from obedience. You cannot break through to come on to the next dimension apart from obedience. You can't even say that you got faith, but don't obey God. Okay, I'm going there. You can't say, you absolutely cannot say that you have faith, but you don't live a life of obedience. Because if you trust God, it's easy to obey him. It's easy to follow him. And when you really think about it, when we disobey God, what's ultimately happening is we're not following him. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it one more time. When we stop doing what God tells us to do, I'm going to break it down. Ultimately, what is happening is we're simply saying, I'm not walking with God right now. That is where we run into self-created storms. That's where and that is why the enemy's able to attack us, because we're not walking with God. When we walk with God, he shields us. All right. Y'all not feeling me? When we walk with God, he shields us. I'm going to say it one more time. When we live a life of obedience, ultimately what is happening is we are walking with God. We are letting him lead us. We are following him. And because we follow him, right, we get a certain level of protection. We gain access, right, to certain blessings, certain miracles. Certain doors begin to open. But when we start disobeying God, what happens is we disconnect. There are some of y'all watching right now. God is saying you disconnected. You disconnected because of fear. You disconnected because of trauma. And you're wondering why your decrees and declares are not shifting the atmosphere around you. You disconnected from the source. I have a ring light right here. Y'all see it? I ain't trying to blind y'all. I have a ring light right there. In order to power on this ring light, I had to plug it in. I had to plug it into some type of source to power it. But guess what? When I unplug it, guess what? The ring light has no power and it goes dark. You get what I'm saying? Give me a 1 if you understand what I'm saying. But when we are connected spiritually to the source, which is God, he lights up the way. As we follow him, he shows us what to do. He highlights traps of the enemy. He tells us, hey, don't go that way, go this way. He shields us. He favors us. He prospers us. He blesses us. But when we disconnect, we live a life of darkness. When we disconnect from the source, when we choose to disconnect and say, okay, God, I don't want to obey you because I got trauma here, so I'm going to just do my own thing. What happens is life gets dark. The enemy starts attacking. We start suffering, even more than we've already suffered. The attacks, right, that God was shielding us from, they are now able to hit us because we are not covered. Some of y'all have disconnected in some areas. Whether it's with a business, whether it's a relationship God told you to cut off, whether it is finances. But what I do know is God is giving you the opportunity to reconnect to your source. What I do know is that he is giving you the opportunity to reconnect to your source. We all go through things. No one is exempt. Hey, Sabrina. We all do. We all battle. We all have had moments where we've obeyed God and entered right into a storm. It even happened to Jesus. So what's our excuse? We all have had moments where God has had to put us on the potter's wheel and prepare us. And there is no greater way to prepare a person than to give them the experience. God gave you experience. You see it as warfare. You see it as God looking over you. The entire time God is saying, I gave you experience. I gave you the experience that you needed on the next level. I gave you the experience that you needed to be able to handle this caliber of a blessing, this caliber of a miracle, this caliber of a breakthrough. He gave you experience. But the moment that you start disobeying, you ultimately disconnect from the experience in itself, which is why we prolong it when we do that, because we're not walking with God. How can we get to the promised land when we're not following the one who created it? How? How? There is no way. There's no way to. There's no way to. Get back on track. I need somebody to type that in. Get back on track. Come on, you're preaching. Some Visha says, yep, because certain things mountaintops won't teach you that some valleys can. Absolutely right. Get back on track. Get back on track. Get back on track. I just came on here to tell you, listen, you better start moving when God tells you to move, or else risk you come on missing out on certain blessings, certain opportunities, certain doors. Move when God says move. That's how you get to the next level. That's how you get to your promised land. That's how you get the miracle. It cannot happen apart from obedience. And that's it. That's it. That is it. That's it. Listen, I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and hit that like button for me. I know that, it's different than house. But as you guys hit the like button, it, hits something in YouTube that it pushes the video out to more people. So if you guys that are watching can just simply hit the like button on these videos, that's it. Share the videos. Someone else may actually need this word. That's it, though. To those of you guys that need prayer for anything, you guys can send prayer requests to prayer.thoughtsbyt at gmail.com. To those of you guys that feel led to sow seed into this word, we do have a goal today. I need to get some things like groceries. I need to get some household essentials. And so whatever is sown today is going towards those items. And so if you know that you are in a position to sow, some of it is going towards food. If you know that you are in a position to sow, whether you're sowing 10, whether you're sowing 20, whether you're sowing 30, whether you're sowing 100, whether you're sowing 200, whether you're sowing 150, you let God lead you. And so that is it, you guys. That is it. And so until next time, I may be back on a little bit later on tonight. I've got to go back to the old place to finish cleaning on this morning. And so I want to go ahead and get that taken care of. And so, again, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys our goal. Our goal is about 130. That would get me every single thing that I need to get today, from food to dog food to household essentials, cleaning products is what I mean. Cleaning products. That is what our goal is on today. And so, to those of you guys that are sewing, the links are in the description. Those of you guys that came over from HAPS, you guys know that you can sew via PayPal, or you can sew via the Cash App. If for any instance you say, Apostle, I want a one-on-one session with you, the email address for you guys to inquire about coaching sessions, they are in the comment section, or not the comment section, or the description of this video. Listen, I love you guys. I am rooting for you guys. And so until next time, y'all, peace.